You didn't make a mistake. You didn't fall out of alignment, and the universe isn't testing you. It's preparing you. I know the feeling. When the life you've built suddenly starts to shift beneath your feet, the plans you thought were certain dissolve overnight. People you trusted drift away without explanation. The structures you've leaned on start to quietly collapse. At first, you tell yourself it's temporary, it's just a phase. But then you start wondering, did I do something wrong? Did I miss a line? That question turns into worry, and that worry grows into panic. But maybe nothing is going wrong. Maybe something is being realigned. Maybe what looks like a delay is actually a sacred recalibration. Maybe the version of you who can receive what you've asked for is only now beginning to take form, and everything that doesn't match that frequency is being moved aside. This is the part of manifestation no one talks about, the messy part, the in between, the gray area. Because the moment your vibration shifts, even slightly, the quantum field begins to rearrange your life to match. And that rearrangement can look like chaos, it can feel like loss, it can feel like you're moving backwards. But you're not moving backwards. What's really falling away is the identity that no longer fits the timeline you're stepping into. The confusion, the disappointment, the discomfort, they're not punishments, they're signals that the field is adjusting your external reality to match the frequency you've been sending out. That's not misalignment, that's momentum. Yes, it hurts. The pain of releasing what once felt safe is real. The ache of trusting something invisible is real. The grief of becoming someone new without knowing exactly who that someone is, it's real. Because you're not just letting go of outcomes, you're letting go of emotional blueprints. You're letting go of the part of you that survived by controlling everything. The part that thought effort was the only way to be worthy. The part that saw stillness as weakness. And that part of you doesn't leave quietly, it clings, it negotiates, it resists, not because it's wrong, but because it's scared. It was built to protect you, but you're not here to be protected anymore. You're here to grow. You're not stuck, you're suspended, standing in the doorway between who you've always been and who you're becoming. And the universe knows that. It's waiting for you to become coherent, not just emotionally, but vibrationally, because the field doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to what you are. It doesn't read your vision board, it reads your frequency. It doesn't listen to your affirmation, it listens to your vibration. And when that frequency is tangled in contradictions, when desperation hides behind affirmations and control hides behind strategy, the field can't deliver. That's why nothing works when you're trying too hard. Because in energy, trying is often resistance wearing a disguise. You're not meant to force your way into alignment. You're meant to feel your way there. And alignment doesn't come from perfect rituals. It comes from stillness, from becoming aware of where you're leaking power. When you're doubting yourself, when you're outsourcing your peace to a future moment, that's when preparation begins. Not on paper, not in your checklist, but in the space between your thoughts. In the stillness beneath all the striving, in that deep breath that says, even if I can't see it yet, I know something is shifting. What if this isn't a delay? What if this is the exact moment your frequency is stabilizing into a new reality? What if this is the detox before the embodiment, the pruning before the bloom? Because the field, as conscious as it is, isn't holding you back, it's holding space. Space for the version of you who can hold the life you've asked for without collapsing under it. That's not a test, that's trust in action. You're being positioned, softened where fear has hardened you, emptied of the noise that kept you chasing things that were never meant to stay, stripped of the illusions that told you you weren't ready, because now you are. And yes, this stage feels raw, lonely, uncertain, but this sacred discomfort is the threshold of change. That moment when your old story becomes too small and your new story hasn't yet formed. The pause before the leap, the silence before the shift. And it's here, right now, at this moment in time, in this stillness, where your real power starts to surface. Because when the field senses that you've stopped rushing into alignment, When you're willing to sit inside the space is creating for you, it responds, not out of obligation, but out of resonance. It begins to shape a reality that matches your new center, your new stillness, your new truth, the real you that you've always meant to become. If things feel unstable right now, let them. If they feel slow or heavy or unclear, trust it. Because instability is not the absence of alignment, it's the reshaping of it. It's the part where reality is catching up to the shift you've already made inside. There's a common misconception that the universe sends tests to see if you're worthy, but the quantum field doesn't test you, it responds to you. It doesn't measure your strength, it reflects your signal. And when that signal changes, even slightly, everything built on your old frequency begins to dissolve. Not out of cruelty, but out of coherence. The field doesn't stop to ask, "Are you ready?" It listens to your energy and answers, "I hear you. Let me reflect that." And that reflection isn't always instant. Sometimes it looks like things falling apart before they fall into place. Not because you failed, but because your old foundation is being replaced. Your external reality always lags behind your internal vibration. I'll say that again. Your external reality always lags behind your internal vibration. So when you stop broadcasting fear, scarcity, and not enoughness, insecurity, the field doesn't punish you, it recalibrates. And that recalibration is what most people mistake for being tested. You're not being evaluated, you're being upgraded. And every upgrade requires a clearing. Just like the body purges toxins before healing, just like the body purges toxins during healing, your energy field will purge what no longer resonates. Old habits, limiting beliefs, unaligned relationships, and identities you've outgrown. The space between letting go and receiving is where most people panic, because the mind hates emptiness. It wants to fill it with stories and blame, with timelines. But the field loves emptiness, because emptiness is pure potential. It's where new realities collapse into form. Every time you emit a new vibration, you're telling the field what you're ready for. And if your current life doesn't yet match that vibration, it must dismantle what doesn't belong. That dismantling isn't destruction, it's precision alignment. You're not losing what's meant for you, you're losing what can't follow you. And yes, that can look like chaos, because anything you've clung to for identity, anything you've used as your safety net, will be questioned by your new vibration. This is why manifestation so often comes after the storm, because the storm loosens the grip you had on what you would have never released on your own. The storm isn't punishment, it's preparation. Because when your signal is clean, when your vibration is stable, the field has no resistance. It reflects you instantly and without hesitation. Until that stability settles in you, the field waits. Not out of delay, out of devotion. It waits for you to stop forcing, to stop pretending, to stop flickering between doubt and trust. Because the field doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your vibration. And vibration does not lie. So when things are falling away, don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask, "What is this making space for?" Don't assume rejection, assume redirection. Don't resist the silence, listen through it. Because the silence between realities is where timelines are rearranged. And if you can hold your center while everything unravels around you, the field will meet you in your new frequency. Dr. Joe Dispenza says the quantum field is a mirror of your internal state. But it's not a passive mirror, it's intelligent. It senses your fear, it senses your trust. It knows when you're pretending, and it knows when you've truly surrendered. When you no longer need the outcome to feel whole, that's when the outcome starts to take shape. When you stop grasping and start anchoring, reality bends. But anchoring takes presence, stillness. The courage to sit in the in-between and say, even here, I trust. Because the moment you stop trying to fix, prove, or control your reality, your frequency becomes still. And in stillness, there's clarity. And in clarity, there's access. And in access, manifestation stops being something you chase and becomes something you live. It becomes who you are, not something that you want to attain. So no, you're not failing because things are falling your way. You're succeeding in ways your ego can't measure. You're becoming resonant with the life you once had to imagine. You're becoming the version of you who no longer asks if it's working because you can already feel it. You know that it's working internally. Your vibration reflects that. And when the field feels that, it stops responding to your rituals and starts responding to your being. The truth is, you were never meant to force the future. You were meant to invite it in. There's a space between letting go and receiving. A strange, quiet space where nothing seems to be happening. You've done the inner work. You've felt the shift. You've surrendered. And then silence. No signs, no evidence, just emptiness. But that emptiness isn't a mistake and it's not a delay. It's the recalibration zone. The place where timelines are rewritten, not by what you do, but by who you are becoming. Most people misread this space as failure. They panic, they retreat, they start trying harder, digging up the seed to see if it's growing. But the quantum field doesn't reward impatience, it responds to coherence. And coherence requires stillness. That's why this invisible, uncomfortable stretch is the most important part of the process, because it reveals whether you truly trust your frequency or you've only been performing it. You're not stuck, you're suspended, floating between timelines. The old one is dissolving, that you know. The new one hasn't landed yet, but you can sense that it will. And deep down, something in you already knows this space that you're in is sacred. Here, your subconscious is rewiring. Here is where old emotional signatures dissolve. Here is where your system stabilizes in a new identity before reality reflects it. And yes, it feels strange. It can feel like being no one, like not knowing what to do next. But that's because you're no longer who you were, and you're not yet fully who you're becoming. This is what spiritual maturity actually feels like. Not fireworks, integration, not sudden epiphanies, consistency. Consistency is spiritual maturity. The field is watching, not with eyes, but with resonance. It's listening to the quality of your silence. It's sensing the shape of your vibration when you're not trying to prove anything. Because when you stop pushing, your true frequency emerges. And that frequency, not your rituals, not your words, is what creates. Neville Goddard called this space the Sabbath, the time of rest between assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled and seeing it manifest. He said, if you persist in the assumption, it will harden into fact. But persistence here isn't effort, it's vibrational stability. It's when you stop needing proof because you are the proof. It's when you stop searching for signs because your body already knows the answer. So if it feels like nothing is moving, good. It means something deeper is moving. It means the surface is quiet because the foundation is shifting. It means your system is learning how to hold the new without collapsing into the old. It means your timeline is recalculating and your only job right now is to stay coherent. Not perfect, not endlessly high vibe, just coherent. Can you sit in the discomfort without running from it? Can you hold the frequency of trust without any evidence? Can you allow your new reality to form around your being instead of chasing it with force? This is the quantum pause, the moment before the collapse, and the field is waiting, not for you to work harder, but for your signal to become consistent enough to create. That consistency isn't measured in intensity, it's measured in ease, in peace, in how lightly you hold the vision, and how little you need to grip it. Because the more you grasp, the more you tell the field, I don't believe it's real, and the field will reflect that disbelief. So stop grasping, start anchoring, walk like it's done, not to convince the field, but to convince yourself. Because when your nervous system truly believes it's safe to receive, the field responds immediately. This is where breakthroughs live, not in the doing, but in the being. Not in chasing the outcome, but in your readiness to hold it. And readiness isn't proven by rituals, it's proven by emotional neutrality. When your worth isn't defined by whether it happens or not, that is exactly when it happens. When joy isn't postponed until the manifestation arrives, but is accessed now, that's when the manifestation arrives faster. When you stop bracing for disappointment and start walking in trust, that's when your new timeline locks in. The quantum isn't slow, you're just still stabilizing. So let it take the time it needs to match the precision of your request. Let the unseen rearrange. Let the silence speak. Let this space, no matter how comfortable it is, become your training ground for trust. Because trust is the energy that collapses reality faster than anything else.